So if you feel like you're working all the time, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have poor boundaries. But if you constantly feel frazzled, not fulfilled, like you're grinding and not growing, like you're in Groundhog Day, that might be a sign that something needs to change. So I'm Suzanne Rath, and you're listening to Endures for your daily dose of endurance leadership and life lessons. Now, today I presented my boundary setting short workshop as 3 round tables at a Massive Action Day for Sam Harrop, who's a local business coach here in Cairns. And this was an audience I love working with, small business owners, mostly service-based businesses. This is the audience I completely know as the founder, owner of a service-based business myself. And so I wanted to share with you 5 things that really landed with me and 5 core themes that we spoke about throughout the day as the participants worked through the worksheets and the workshops with me. So the first one is that working really hard is fine. There's times in your business, there's chapters in your life where you feel like you need to go all in on something. And even if we talk about those life chapters, there have been chapters in my life where I've gone all in on training, right? Is one example, because the goal that I have is so massive. And as I shared before, this analogy of the lights on in the rooms, I didn't have the lights on in every single room in my house. I wasn't trying to have everything perfect in my life at those times. I knew that things were more skewed balance-wise towards the training goal or the work or whatever the case might be. And so when you're in one of those chapters, but you're okay with doing the work, that's okay. So that's really, really important to be aware of and not be beating yourself up based on Instagram perfection, right? Now, the second thing that hit home for me and that we discussed a little bit is being aware of the payoff for allowing your boundaries to be crossed. And so I mentioned briefly the Mel Robbins let them theory, which has the other side, which is let me. And so what I mean by that is sometimes we will answer the phone when we're tired, or we'll allow somebody to come in the middle of a meeting, or we'll bend over backwards for someone and we'll say that it's a boundary violation. Like we'll say, I don't want to work past this time. I don't want to take meetings at this time. I don't want to take phone calls at this time. I don't want to always be on call. I don't want to always be the person my friends ring to complain to, whatever the case might be. But we keep doing it. And so we need to be aware of where there's a little payoff for us. Maybe it's feeling needed. Maybe it's wanting to be seen as a nice person. Maybe it's our opinion being valued. Whatever the case might be, if we recognize the payoff, then it empowers us and enables us to take back a little bit of control and then make a decision around whether we allow that boundary to be crossed from an above the line and empowered space rather than a below the line bitching, moaning, complaining about it. Now, the third thing that came up a lot is that feeling of how we feel when our boundaries are crossed. And resentment and frustration showed up a lot. And this is a really core thing. We are not energetically showing up how we like. But something that came up a little bit, and it comes up in my life, right, is sometimes we start to resent things even if we've asked for the thing. So say, for example, you put in place a policy in work. You say, team member, you need to call me if X, Y, and Z. You know, the building's burning down, this person calls, that person, that thing happens. And then they call you and you are in the middle of something. And you immediately get this inner voice of, because you're in the middle of something, right? But you and I, need to realize that they're calling because we asked. And so none of us, when we pick up the phone or we go to do something, are in the minds or the space of the other person. And practicing a little bit of acceptance is something that I will touch on in a second. Now, the fourth thing for me, and it kind of ties into that actually, is building this emotional resourcefulness. So as humans, as adults, as leaders, as business owners, the more resourceful we are, the better we show up, the more resilient we are, the more adaptable we are, the more we can put ourselves naturally into a brain state where we can come up with solutions rather than problems, or we can actually put ourselves in a space where we can make good decisions. And even in those little micro moments where somebody goes to cross your boundaries, even if you'd never set that boundary, or someone or something goes to cross your boundaries, we can practice this level of emotional resourcefulness, micro resetting, taking a deep breath, taking an energy shift, reframing it, smiling, practicing gratitude, stepping outside. All of these things are really, really short, and they're just little micro resets in between one thing and the next thing. So if you're coming from a meeting, if you have been in the car and someone cut you off in traffic, if somebody has put into your personal space, if somebody has broken something in your business or in your home, any of these things can be little minor boundary violations or minor irritants. And it's on us to be able to reset and break that continuous loop in our brains and get rid of that attention residue. So finding those little micro break habits for that. And then the fifth thing I'd love to share with you is that I followed in the afternoon. One of the speakers of the morning was Andrew Matthews. And Andrew is a cartoonist who has written multiple books on being happy. I've had the privilege of hearing him speak twice now, and it's incredible. And he talks about something I truly believe, which is that happiness is a choice. And he talks about how the happiest people have acceptance, they have gratitude, and they have persistence. And so the acceptance comes in here in multiple ways. We need to accept ourselves and our own individual selves and our boundaries and how they may be different to other people's, and be able to communicate those with clarity, consistency, and kindness. But we also need to be able to accept that everybody is coming at things from a different angle, right? And so we can't be irritated by every single little thing in our days. We do need to practice that acceptance through building resourcefulness and better communication and all of these self-leadership skills. The gratitude is really important as a small micro reset. Maybe if there's a time where, as I mentioned, that you feel like a boundary is being crossed when you've actually just asked for the thing. So the gratitude, say in that case, it might be, oh, my team keep ringing me and asking me this thing, when you've either asked them to do it or you've never set the boundary not to. Switching that to gratitude for, well, it's great, I have a team, so then I don't have to do every single thing in my business, right? And persistence, which is persistence in life is the key to success. It's, part of my Endures framework. You need to be able to drive through. This is March. We are on the third month of the year. Drive is the third stage of Endures, how we push, change pace, or pivot. And so persistence is a really big part of that. But also we need to be persistent with our boundaries as well. So that's 5 things on boundaries for today. I would love to hear if you had any core takeaways. And for me, it was really useful even to do some of that boundary setting tool again in real time while we were doing the workshop and see where I need these little micro resets. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you tomorrow for more from Endures.